Hello, good day everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Again, this is Joe about the self we know. So for example, Jobren, like me, Jobren described herself as a person, a student, a pet lover, a people lover. So this is the self she knows. So this is the self I know. So again, a self we know is a self that includes specific identities. So we know ourselves. We know ourselves better, right? So I describe myself as a wife. I am a daughter. I am soon to be a student. I love animals. I am a pet lover. So that is the self that I know about myself. So in the self we know, we should know our identities. Like this one. What is identity? So, identity are the meanings we attach to the self by oneself and others. So, in order for us to know ourselves, we need to know our identities. Identities meaning how do we put meaning to ourselves, or the meanings we put to ourselves, the meanings we attach to ourselves. So, for example, like the one that I gave earlier, so I describe myself like I am a wife, I am a student, I am a teacher, I am what else? I am a pet lover, so I am people-oriented person. So again, those are the self that I know about myself. So if I consider myself as a student, to take exams, I need to write papers, I need to submit assignments. So that is my identity. So I need to do it because I know in myself that I am a student. So that is how important is the self we know. How important is to understand ourselves better for us to perform it, to perform ourselves or to perform better because we know ourselves. We know that I am a wife also. So I need to do things as a wife. I need to clean the house. I need to take care of my husband. I need to take care of everything. That is my identity as a wife. So in this video, so we consider a lot of questions about the self we know. Number one, how do our roles influence the identities we include in ourselves? Sa Bisaya pa, giunsa daw nga ang atong mga role sa atong kinabuhi nga ka-impluwensya ba siya sa pagsabot nimo sa imong kaugalingon? So giunsa man pag-influence ang imong mga gipang trabaho karon sa imong pagsabot sa imong kaugalingon? So number two question is how do group membership influence the self we know? Sa Bisaya pa, so giunsa kuno nga ang imuhang group membership influence the way you know yourself. So in short, kung asa ka nga member, kung unsa ka nga grupo member, naka-influensya ba siya sa imuhang pagtan-aw sa imong self? So and that's very tricky question. Number three question that we need to explore in this topic is what evidence is there that the self we know is based on the reactions we perceive from others? Sa Bisaya pa, unsa may ebidensya nimo nga makaingon ka nga ang imong pagtan-aw sa imong self is nakabase siya sa unsay reaction sa ubang tao? Number four question is how do the aspect of a self that people note vary from one situation to another? So giunsa daw sa tao, giunsa daw nimo pagsabot sa imong kaugalingon nga kahibaw man ka nga ang pagsabot, ang perception sa mga tao is lahi-lahi man depende sa sitwasyon nga naa siya. That's why understanding yourself, the self that you know, it's very tricky and very confusing because again, our roles vary from time to time, and the perception of others also vary from time to time, and we don't know if their reactions is true or not. So let's try to explore that. Number one is the role identity. So what is a role? Like I have a role to play. I have a lot of roles to play. So each of us enacts many different social roles, right? When I am with my family, I am very bubbly because I am a daughter. When I am with my husband, I am a wife. I need to take care of everything. When I am a teacher, I need to take care of my students. When I am with my friends, I am again bubbly. I love people. I love talking to them. I love dealing with them. So again, we construct identities by observing our own behavior and the responses of others to us. So again, we play a lot of social roles. And the way you understand your role identities is based on the reaction of other people, based on the responses of other people. So if they say that you are a good person, that you are a good daughter, but for example, that people are saying that you are a good daughter, so you will do the role as a good daughter. You will do things that will showcase you as being a good daughter, right? So your role identity. So when people are telling you that you are a good teacher, a good instructor, a good professor, so you will do things that will show that you are indeed a good instructor or a professor. So we enact based on the observation, based on the observation made by others. So for each role we enact, we develop a somewhat different view of who we are and our own identity. So for example, you are a good daughter, a good student. So when people are saying that you are a good student, that you are a brilliant student, so we sometimes have a different view of ourselves. It boasts our self-esteem, it boasts our role identity. So it it changes based on the responses from other people. So because of these identities, because these other identities are concept of self and specific roles. So these are called role identities. So when you have your own role to play, when you have your own specific role to play in the organization, they are called your role identities. So as a result, the self we know is linked to society fundamentally through the roles we play. So for example, my role identity as an instructor is I have to teach my students very well. I have I have an obligation, or this is part of my job, to take good care of them mentally, academically. I need to be with them when they're having difficulties at school. So that is my role identity. So when you have a lot of specific role to play, they are called your role identities, to and you have to do it because that is part of your role identities. So another question: do societal role expectations strictly dictate the contents of our role identities? Sa Bisaya pa, ang kana bang gi-expect sa mga tao sa atong palibot is mao ba jud na ang ato ang buhaton para sa ato ang role identities? So, naay uban moingon yes, naay uban moingon no. So, let's take this as an example. The role expectation for a college instructor like me. I am a college instructor, by the way. I'm teaching general education subject. So let's try to think about this. I am a college instructor. Do I need do I need to follow what is the expectation of others towards me in order for me to embrace my own role identities, in order for me to appreciate my specific role? So again, we have different social roles to play, correct? So if you are an instructor or a professor, some instructors deliver lectures, right? Whereas others lead discussions. Some encourage questions, whereas others discourage them. Some assign papers, and others do not. So again, role expectation usually leave individuals some room to improvise their own role performances. Again, with regards to the question, I believe it's a no. Again, when you talk about your role identity, is we have different role identities. So as an instructor, as a as an instructor, I need to make some improvement to myself. I do not, if I see that this strategy is good for my students, I have to do it. That is my role as a teacher. I need to keep on improving myself. It doesn't mean that the other instructor, they are doing that. I also need to follow. I have my own role performances. I keep on improvise. I keep on improving. I keep on embracing AI, embracing the new technology, embracing a lot of portal to make the discussions more easier. So, lahi-lahi ta. Although we are all instructor, but we have different strategies on how we deal with our students and how we think that this strategy is more beneficial to our students. Like me, what I did is I keep on recording myself, like vlogging like this, because when there's some interruption, classes interruption, we will do a synchronous. It's easy for me to just send the recorded video and to ask for inputs for my students, and students can also learn from it if it's a self-paced. So in short, they can download the video. It's for free. So when I told them to study, so they can study anytime at any day. So it depends on them. So it's a good way of reaching students. Like if we have some natural calamities, I can still discuss. I am not running out of time. It's easy for me to deliver my subject as long as I have prepared all my lessons. So for me, it's very beneficial, and that is my role as a student. I mean, as an instructor, that is my role to reach out my students, regardless of whatever circumstances. Uh, Regardless of whatever circumstances in life. That is my role identity. Okay, so again, uh, we have different strategies, we have different role identities to play. Another thing that we should also learn is the social identities. So, what is social identities? Meaning, you are dealing with people, dealing with a lot of membership, a lot of people around you. So a second source of identities is membership in social categories or based on criteria such as gender, nationality, sexual preferences, or political affiliation. So we have different social identities. So we vary. We have different perspective. We have different perception. So a definition of self in terms of the defining characteristic of a social group is a social identity. So, for example, I am a female. Biologically, I'm a female. So I belong to the female group. I belong to them. So that's how I see myself as part of my social identity. So I am considering myself as a female. Okay, so this is this is how you define yourself as a member of the group. So if you belong to this group, so you're also considering that you are part of that group. For example, I am a Filipino. That is my nationality. I am a Filipino. So in short, I am speaking Bisaya. I am also have our political affiliation, meaning we vary from time to time. We have different perspective, but we also have our own social identity. So if you define yourself as a member of the group, so this characteristic becomes standards for your thoughts, feelings, and actions. So again, if you belong to that group, it influences the way you think, it influences your feelings and your actions. If you belong to a group of basketball players, right? So your thought also affect is also affected, like the way you think, your feelings and your actions. You are strong. You are embracing their own behaviors also. That is part of your social identity. If you belong to some church community, I am an advisor of the uh, one of the organizations in our university. So I'm also dealing with them. I am also part of that group. So I need to be a good model for them since I am their advisor for the campus ministry. Okay, so I am also part of it. So if your interaction with others, whether members or not, confirm the importance of these attributes, they become part of the self you know. So in short, if you belong to that group and you have the same attributes, you have the same standards, values, you have it matches your personality as a person, they become part of the self you know. It becomes part of you. When I was young, I was part of the. It's a community. It's a small a youth community. I was also part of it, and it becomes part of me as well. So until now, I am still dealing with the youth, with the teenagers. So again, it's become part of myself, and I am happy to be part of it. So that is a social identity. That's why I choose your social relationship very well, because later on it will become part of the self you know. So another thing that we also need to discover or to explore is the adaptation of role and social identity. Okay, so another thing that we should discover or explore is the adaptation of role and social identities. So we have self schema. So this our self schemas are formed in part by adapting identities. Like when you adapt identities, like the role identities, the social identities, it becomes part of your self schemas. So it becomes part of you. Like if you're a wife, it becomes part of you. If you're a student, if you're part of if you are part of this group, if you belong to this group, it become part because of your self schema, because you are adapting to it. So one difference between culture is whether a culture is individualistic or collectivistic. So here in the Philippines, we are known to be what? Collectivistic, meaning we love blending with people. We love to be with people. Diba? We love to make bonds with people. While for the Western people, they are more known to be individualistic, meaning they prefer to do it by themselves. They prefer to explore it by themselves. They are known to be individualistic. So according to research, the self-schema of a person's in individualistic cultures include more individual identities. So again, the self-schema of people living in the Western countries, they are known to be individualistic, meaning they love to have their own individual identities. They want to create their own identity, especially when you're living in the Western area. Whereas those of person in collectivist cultures include more group link identities, meaning the Eastern people, like me, I am a Filipina, I am belong in the Eastern group, so I love to deal with a lot of group link identities. So I talk to people, I talk to different personalities. I love making bonds with them, talking with them. I am more into group, but individualistic people, they are more into individual self, like individual identities. So what makes us different from the Western and the Eastern way. You talk about culture. So the adoption of a role identity involves socialization into the group or organization of which the role is part. So to make the transition, for example, to make the transition, in order for us to be accepted by others, we need to suppress our self-oriented attitudes and behavior and acknowledge the importance of the team. So again, when you learn to adapt any role identity or any social identity because you want to be part of it. So the transition, the only way for you to be accepted is you try to suppress your self-oriented attitude and you try to blend in, you try to acknowledge the importance of the team if you want to be accepted. So the sense of belonging, the sense of belonging. So if you want to join that group, you need to learn also to make some adjustment and acknowledge the that this is a team and we need to blend as a team. So they also had to learn survival skills and rescue techniques, demonstrating humility and persistence in the process. And again, when you learn to socialize, when you learn to blend in, you also discover the need for you to learn about a lot of things like your survival skills, your rescue techniques, and you're demonstrating humility and persistence in the process. So that's why it's very hard to blend in because you need to try to make some changes when it comes to your own self-oriented attitudes and behavior. You try to go with groups and blend yourself in and acknowledge that this team is very important for you to blend. Like if you are a basketball player, so you will not do it alone, it's impossible. So if you want to become a good team player is you need to develop that survival skills. You need to learn, as they say, you need to learn the hard way, like blending, understanding, like humility, making friends. So that is the adoption of a role identity. So to make the transition to core member, so they had to accept the roles offered by the team. So again, if you want to be part of a core member, you have to accept the roles offered by the team and demonstrating that they were skilled by leading training sessions. So again, when you blend in, you also need to accept that uh, you also need to learn how to blend, how to be with them, how to follow instructions, order for us so that the transition would not be harder for us. So as members progress through these stages, they increasingly shared in the sense of we-ness, and their membership became an important social identity. So again, when you adapt to a role identity, you need to learn the process of suppressing your own self-oriented attitudes and behavior. And if you really want to make your transition easier, you also have to increasingly shared in the sense of we-ness, and their membership became an important social identity. So it's more about the we. So it's very hard to blend in, but again, if you are part of this organization, you need to learn how to do it, to blend in, to make your transition easier. So you need to adapt to a role identity. So another thing is adapting a social identity. So how to adapt a social identity? So adapting a social identity involves self-categorization. So when you say self-categorization, this is the defining of the self as a member of social category. So whereas enacting a role identity involves behavior conforming to a role, like a role identity, you need to blend your behavior, suppress your self-oriented behavior, and you need to conform to a role. Enacting a social identity involves adapting styles of dress, behavior, and thought associated with the social category. So, for example, if we are part of the Japanese uh, cosplay, right? So you need to change the way you dress because you are part of the cosplay, the group of cosplayer. So you need to change how you think, your thought, your dress, your style. So that is part of social identity. That is part of how we adapt to a social identity. So successful adoption may require consensus by other members of the category that you can claim the identity. During our time, we don't have that cosplay, but now teenagers are now embracing the cosplay, and that is also part of adapting a social identity that was influenced by the Japanese, right? Very challenging how to adapt a social identity. Like when you go somewhere, like when you go to another place, like the way in Thailand, the way they dress, they also have their own style. So when you adapt a social identity, you also need to buy the same dress or style of dress for you to blend in. So another thing that we also need to discover is the reflected appraisal. So reflected appraisal is the idea that the person bases his or her self-schema on the reactions he or she perceives from others during social interaction. So when you say reflected appraisal is that you are basing your self-schema to the feedback, the reactions of others during social interaction. So this is again, the author Filson has studied the relative influence of parents and peers on the self-perceptions of fourth through eighth graders about their academic ability, athletic ability, and physical attractiveness. So according to his study, results showed that parents affect self-appraisal in the areas of academic and athletic ability, whereas peers are an important influence on perceived attractiveness. So according to his study, and the results shows that parents affect the self appraisal in terms of academic and athletic, whereas the peers or the friends peers an important influence of perceived attractiveness. So when your friends keep on telling you that you are beautiful, it affects your self appraisal, your reflected appraisal. When they say that you are not good, it affected your that you are not beautiful, you are not handsome, it affected your appraisal. So reflected appraisal, it's more or less it is a the idea it the idea that the person bases his or herself schema through the feedback from others, so the reactions he or she perceived from others. So one aspect of attractiveness is weight. So here in the Philippines, I believe when we say attractive, they should be skinny, um, they should be thin. So one aspect of attractiveness is weight. So when you gain weight, they don't see you pretty or beautiful. It's not true to all. It's not true to all. So although there is, and sometimes that is how we do reflected appraisal. When we base ourselves based on the reaction from others, it affects us, especially when you talk about attractiveness or perceived attractiveness. It affects us. That's why a lot of women now they are trying to be fit because that is how we measure being attractive. Although there is an objective measure of weight, it is a social judgment that is incorporated into the self concept. So again, we have our objective measure of weight, but then again, the social judgment is very influential. It affects how we incorporate that into our self concept. That's why a lot of teenagers now they try to keep themselves fit, do not eat too well. Worst cases, a lot of teenagers are now experiencing the anorexia nervosa, it's a disorder, psychological disorder, I think. It's they don't eat well because of that idea that if they eat, they don't look attractive anymore. So it also affected their own reflected appraisal. It is a social judgment that really affects us, especially for women like me. Okay, so I will continue discussing this tomorrow. So I hope you are still with me. This is a very long topic, by the way. So I hope you are still with me, and I hope you will continue to support me throughout this learning journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again for my next video blog. Thank you, and God bless.